We're going to be going over solving quadratic equations by graphing. And even though we're going to be graphing, you are going to see some algebraic solving as well, because to become really good at this, you need to understand how it is on a graph and what it's like to solve algebraically, and that you get the same answers no matter what you do. All right, so we're going to start with number one. And number one says, using what you know about the relationship between graphs and the solutions of an equation, which function does the graph below represent? Highlight your answer. Now remember those four words. We had solutions, we have x-intercepts, we have roots, and we have zeros. Those are all the words that mean the same thing. So when we talk about solutions, we are referring to these 2 points, the x-intercepts, the zeros, okay? So what are they? If you look closely, you'll see that here we have -4, and here we have +2. So our solutions are -4 and +2. But be very careful, because what you're looking at over here is you're looking at the equation. This equation is not yet solved. X plus 2 and x minus 4, these guys right here, these are called factors. These are not the solutions. These are halfway to the solutions. We need to factor in order to solve. So be very careful with that. Okay, so first I'm going to show you how to do this algebraically, and then we're going to go over to the graph, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. Once again, remember, we are looking for the answers x equals -4 and x equals +2. Now I'm going to look at the first one right here, A, and I'm going to split it up into two equations. X plus 2 equals 0 and x minus 4 equals 0. I'm getting the x plus 2 from here and the x minus 4 from there. Now to solve, I'm going to take 2 away from each side here, and I get x equals -2. And over here, when I add 4 to each side, I get x equals 4. Do these answers match what we need? No, they don't. Okay, so that's what you need to do algebraically until you find x equals -4 and x equals 2. Now, I want you to notice something here. Here we had x plus 2, but our answer was x equals -2. So you see how that's the opposite sign? And here we have x minus 4, but here we have x is +4. You see how that's the opposite sign? So which one of these do you think will give us these two solutions that we need? All right, so again, we want x equals -4 and x equals 2. So remember, it's kind of the opposite sign. So instead of -4, I'm looking for something that says x plus 4. Well, where do we see it? Well, we see it here and we see it here. Now I'm also looking for x equals 2. And x equals 2, remember, we want it to be backwards. So I'm looking for a -2. Well, that's not right. So it's not B. But see, here's my -2. So that's my answer right there. But let me show you why D works. So I'm going to write it up here. 0 is equal to x minus 2, and 0 is equal to x plus 4. Now we're going to add 2 to each side. So I have x equals 2. And then over here, I'm going to subtract 4 from each side. So x equals -4. Now notice that these solutions match those two. All right, now I'm going to go over to Desmos and show you what it looks like. So let's see if I can just highlight this and go right over to Desmos. Let's do some copy and paste. So here I am at Desmos. I'm going to paste that equation in and back up. Take a look right here. Here are your solutions. We have -4, +2. Notice that because this is x equal x minus 2, the answer that you get is x equals 2. And because here we have x plus 4, you get x equals -4. Do you see how it's kind of backwards? But that's because when you solve the equation, you get the opposite. All right, I'm going to move on to the next one. I think you guys can do this on your own. We're looking for the solutions. Now remember, the solutions are where the parabola hits the x-axis. So take a look at what x is over here and take a look at what x is over there. And that's what you're putting in right in there. So for number 3, we're going to use Desmos to solve this quadratic equation. And then we need to paste a screenshot and write the solutions. So I'm going to highlight, copy, and we're going to go to Desmos and paste it in. Okay, now there is a problem here. You'll notice that I don't have a parabola. And the reason for that is you have a 0 in here. You're not supposed to graph it with a 0. You're supposed to graph it with a y. So change that to a y. And also see right here, we have the 2. We need to change that to an exponent, not to the 22nd power. So here's my exponent. Okay, we're going to zoom in. You can zoom in with the plus as well. I've lost my graph here. Here we go. So we're looking for the zeros or the roots or the solutions. Okay, that's what we're looking for. So let's zoom in on it and see where we are. Where does it hit 0? Now notice here it only hits in one spot. It hits at -3. It's a little weird, but what we're going to do is we're going to write the same thing twice. Okay, so when you're asked for the solutions, you have x equals -3 and x equals -3 because there's really only one solution. Now let me show you why this works algebraically. So we're going to factor x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals 0. Okay, so we're looking for a product. Now remember, there's a little 1 there. So we're looking for a product of 1 times 9, which is 9. And we're looking for a sum of 6. So I'm going to make a little table here. We need a product of 9 and a sum of 6. Okay, what two numbers are going to give us a product of 9 and a sum of 6? So I hope you've already been able to figure that out. 3 times 3 or -3 times 3 would give us a product of +9. Now notice we have a +6 as a sum. So here we're going to get 6, -6. This is our answer right there. So our two choices are 3 and 3. So when we factor, we write x plus 3, x plus 3. Okay, we're going to set each one equal to 0. Now I'm not going to do this twice because obviously this is the same equation. So I'm going to subtract 3 from each side, x equals -3. And because that equals -3, so does this. And notice that we get the same answer. All right, I'm going to take a screenshot of this. You might want to try clicking on that to show that you have that -3, 0, and then we're going to paste it right in. Okay, and you might want to make it a little bit smaller because it's going to be kind of big. We don't need it to be that big. Just make it a little bit smaller. That's good enough. Um, and get rid of this space. Not a big deal. All right. So the solutions are, now notice there's two of them. So even though the graph only hits once, we're just going to write the same thing in for each one. X equals -3, x equals -3. All right, I'm going to move on to the next one. Again, we're asked to use Desmos to solve this equation. So I'm going to take this equation right here. I'm going to copy it and then paste it into Desmos. Okay, now once again, notice that is not an exponent, so we need to change it to an exponent. And that should not be a 0, that should be a y. And notice that our zeros, our roots, our solutions, our x-intercepts are -5 and 5. So those are your answers, -5 and 5. Now I'm quickly going to do this algebraically just to show you where that comes from. X squared minus 25 equals 0. Replace that y with a 0. Now notice this is a difference of perfect squares. The quick way to do this, okay, difference of perfect squares. Put an x here, put an x there. What times itself is 25? We know it's 5 and 5. And remember, the difference of perfect squares, we put a plus and a minus, and we are done. Now to solve it, again, x plus 5 equals 0, x minus 5 equals 0. And here we're going to subtract 5, and we get x equals -5, and here we add 5. And we have x equals +5. And notice that these answers match what we get here, which is -5 and +5. Take a screenshot, show that you've got your points in there, and throw it in. And the solutions are, remember what the x's are? We've got an x of -5, and we have an x that's +5. All right, so here we are on number 5. I am not going to do this one with you. I think you guys can manage it on your own. Just remember when you copy it and you paste it into Desmos, that you change the 0 to a y and that you make sure that that says squared and not 2. Okay? All right, we're going to move on. Let's take a look at number 6. So again, we need to use Desmos, so I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it into Desmos. Get rid of all of that. Okay, so again, this 2 is no good. We want a squared, and we don't want the 0, we want a y. Okay, so there's our parabola, and there's our zeros. Our answers are x equals -2 and x equals +2. But where does that come from? So you can, again, take a screenshot of that, put it in. I'm going to show you how to do this algebraically also, because you do need to know how to do this. I have 2x squared minus 8, and remember, change that y back to a 0. Okay, now here, I hope you notice that we do have a greatest common factor. Our greatest common factor here is a 2, because 2 goes into 2 and 8. There is no variable common factor. The x is only here. There's no x here. So we're not concerned with the x. Okay, so now that I've determined greatest common factor, open parentheses, how do I get 2x squared? Well, I need the x squared. So done with the first one. Bring that minus down. And how do I get an 8? 2 times what? 2 times 4. And then I have equals 0. So that's what I have so far. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this 2. Basically, at this point, you can divide each side by 2 and cancel this 2 out. So what you're left with is x squared minus 4 equals 0 divided by 2, which is 0. So you see how that 2 canceled out. Only works in equations. Do not confuse this with the expressions that we did for the last few weeks, okay? So what is this? Well, we just did something like this. This is the difference of perfect squares. We have x and x. That's how you get an x squared. And how do you get a 4? 2 and 2. And because it's a difference of perfect squares, we have a plus and a minus. Now I'm going to do this really fast. If I have x plus 2, remember we have the opposite, x equals negative 2. And if I have x minus 2, I have the opposite, x equals positive 2. So my answer is x equals negative 2, x equals positive 2. And notice that that matches with what you got on the graph. Okay, I'm going to go back to the question. You know how to do the screenshot, I hope, at this point. And for your solutions, you put the two x's, which we got 2 and negative 2. All right, let's take a look at number 7. Now, number 7 is a little bit different because for number 7, you notice the equation is not equal to 0. Okay, it is not equal to 0, so that's a problem. Not a big problem, but you can't use that. You can't use this as an equation in Desmos. So first we have to tweak it. All right, so I'm going to write the equation down. I'm just going to put it here for now. So I have x squared plus 5x equals negative 6. Now what you need to do is you need to get that equation equal to 0, okay, so that we can put it into Desmos. So what you do is you add the 6 over to the other side, okay? So on this side, it cancels and we get 0. Now, on the left side, there are no like terms. So what we do is we just write what we see. We have an x squared right here. We have a 5x right here. And we have a plus 6 right there. Okay, so you just rewrite what you see. So this is what we're going to enter into Desmos. And just remember to change the 0 to a y. All right, so I'm going to type x squared plus 5x plus 6. Now remember, not equals 0. When you're graphing it, you write equals y. All right, move that down a little bit. Okay, let's take a look at our zeros. Here we have 1 0, and here's the other 0. Again, these are called zeros, roots, x-intercepts, solutions. And our answers are negative 3 and negative 2. Okay, and I'm going to let you guys figure out the factoring on your own. So take a screenshot, put the screenshot in, and your answers are negative 3, negative 2. Okay, for number 8, this is really simple. Look at the graph, find your solutions. Again, solutions, same thing as zeros, x-intercepts, roots. Okay, all of those words. So you know where to look. You look directly at the x-axis, and those are your answers. So that's a really easy one. Number 9, which of the graphs below has the roots? Now notice they're using the word roots. Same thing as solution, zeros, x-intercepts. All of that means the same thing. X equals 5 and x equals negative 2. Highlight the correct choice. So you're looking for the graph that hits the x-axis. Just to show you where the x-axis is, it's kind of hard to see it. Here's the x-axis right here. Here it is right there, and so on. And you're looking for the x-intercepts, right, on each of those. And you want to see which one of them hits at +5 and -2. Okay, only one of them is going to hit at +5 and -2. And you just need to highlight the answer like this, just go like that and highlight it. There's the highlight color. By the way, just because I highlighted B does not mean it's the right answer. I'm just showing you how to highlight. And we're going to go on to 10. What are the zeros of the quadratic function? Now, again, all those words, zeros, x-intercepts, solutions, roots, they all mean the same thing. So over here, you're going to type x equals, where's the first solution? Find it. Okay, here's the first one. And then x equals, where's the second one? Okay, this is a really easy one again. All right, so I'm going to let you guys do that one on your own. And that's it for this worksheet. Now, if you have any questions, again, we're available during Google Meets. Send us an email. All right, and stay safe, guys.